Times, and also the culture, arts and culture coverage. I'm not really going to get into like exact detail about what we're going to run and what the product is going to look like when we launch and all those things, partly because it's it's competitive information, and I don't really, I've been asked a number of times, to kind of give like specifics about what are we going to see on day one, and the answer to that is you'll have to wait for day one. It's not that far off. May 26th. I'm quite acutely aware of how not that far off that day is, but generally speaking, we'll be covering the as I referred to, the core civic beats in the Bay Area. That'll be the focus of the staff reporting team. We're also going to be working very hard on a lot of different kinds of collaborations and really investing in collaboration and hoping to build some new models in how we can work with other journalism organizations to do great reporting about the Bay Area. We're very much focused on big stories and high quality journalism, and I'm in profit or non-profit realms. I've always been a believer that great journalism drives interest, drives audience, and drives community, and drives results, and that's really what we're our kind of first priority in launching this organization. So I'll leave it there, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. And then there's Chuck Lewis, who's the number of organizations. I'm almost Center for Public Integrity, and the list goes on from there. And now you have a workshop, you call it, at American University.
Right. First of all, thanks to you, Lowell, and everyone here. This has been a terrific few days, as it seems to be every year. The latest adventure is the Investigative Reporting Workshop, and I didn't want to start a thing that would compete with the Center for Public Integrity, but I do have some sort of DNA need to stir up trouble and to create things. I don't know what it's about, but so this is different. One part of it does multimedia investigative reporting. We have some extraordinary journalists, iconic figures, Pulitzer Prize winners under contract. We'll be doing big projects, 1 and 2, 3 year projects. We have students part of the university, but outside the university too. Total staff is 12 full-time. We started in late 2008. Budget went from 400 to 1.3 million to, we hope, 2 million this year. So the first thing we did as an indicator of the possible, we posted all the FDIC bank data in America for every 8,200 banks. And the American bankers asked us not to publish. They said there would be a run on the banks. We asked them to spell their name. We put it up on the web with the public. We were working with a national newspaper. The editor couldn't sleep at night for this same reason. And so we gave it to MSNBC.com, which at that time I think maybe still is the highest traffic news site. So they've about 8 million unique page visitors or whatever, but a lot of people every quarter. And we did an analysis showing you the debt ratio and everything and what shape they were in. And this is a troubled asset ratio that's used by bankers, but journalists don't use it. And basically, it's pretty dead on. By the way, there was no run on the banks. I'll spare you all. InvestigativeReportingWorkshop.org is the URL. And we're doing international stuff, national stuff, and we're going to start doing a little bit of metropolitan D.C. area stuff. The most exciting part of the workshop is actually, to me, at least we call it the iLab, looking at new ways to enlarge the public space for investigative reporting. We've been involved with some of the other folks here, Rosie Rosenthal, Brant Houston in particular, also Bill Busenberg, who's not here, the Center for Public Integrity, to help to create this new investigative news network. I'm happy to talk about that further if you want as part of the new models and all that. It's very, very exciting. It's the first time, or the largest, most ambitious time that anyone has attempted to link up all the nonprofits in the U.S. and around the world. This is not a national thing, it's an international thing. I started the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists in '97, 100 reporters in 50 countries, and I think it was the first website combining international investigative reporting around the world and doing content across borders. And I'm developing another idea, which is really wild and crazy. I wrote about it for CJR. The editor asked me to predict the future of journalism in 2014, and I had been working on this project, which we are going to try to spin out at the end of this year. That's famous last words, but we're hoping, called The Wire, World Investigative Reporting Enterprise, a global platform that reorganizes investigative reporting content by social networks. I noticed in teaching international investigative reporting at American University that all investigative content, not all of it, but an awful lot of it, most of it, is actually broken down into social networks like the environment and health and business and various subjects, human rights. Well, there are massive social networks. If you want the best investigative reporting on planet Earth on any of those subjects, you actually can't get it easily. If you could commission the best people in the world on those subjects, which is not unlike what we have done at the consortium since '98, you could start to create a whole new form of journalism with yes, all those cliches, the long tail, a living resource, but it could be something that you can continually add to, and it would include data, it'd be multimedia, it could include films and books. But a continuum of what's been done of high quality and credibility on those various subjects. So this will either be a for-profit and L3C hybrid corporation, and it will be separate from the workshop. We'll incubate it and spin it out. We've helped to spin out Fair Warning, Myron here in the front row. We're proud to have assisted in getting that into a C3 after Myron left the LA Times. And so we're doing these various things. We're looking at the new journalism ecosystem. We're going to do a report on the 35 or so nonprofits now that are proliferating like rabbits. And the Harper's Index, like what vital statistics, when were they founded, who are the founders, who's running it, what's their budget, stuff like that. But also standards and practices, do they disclose their donors, stuff like that. And anyway, so I'll stop there. I'm not unfamiliar with the libel issue. We were sued by Russian oligarchs. Hate when that happens. We did a story about Dick Cheney and Halliburton, and we had the biggest libel case in the U.S. in 25 years. Some said, I don't know, but it was brought by two billionaires. It was dismissed. But we created a fund for independence in journalism, a legal defense support organization. I raised $5 million. We had 5 pro bono lawyers, and there's been no new litigation against the center for 7 years. And so there are lots of ways to take this on. Obviously, the WikiLeaks example is really intriguing, and of course, breaks new ground in libel-free zones. And I want to hear more, of course. But anyway, I'll stop there. I happen to be very excited about the future. I think the possibilities are just absolutely endless, and I wish we had more hours in a day. So I'll stop there.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one question and then open it up. And what I'm really curious about is Iceland. How real is this? Because don't I have to live, even if you get all this legislation through, don't I have to move to Iceland? And if I move to Iceland, is there housing?
Well, there's actually plenty of housing. We have massive exodus because of the financial meltdown. But it's also possible for example, the investigative journalist portion of a publication or a media to move that particular material onto servers in Iceland. But probably would be the best if you want to escape all these oligarchs and huge corporations that go after investigative journalists. Would be good to change residency, but you don't have to live there all year.
But it might become more enticing with global warming.
Yeah, it's actually getting warmer there. I shouldn't tell you though, because it's sort of cozy only to have 317,000 people living on an island.
Okay. Questions for anyone from the audience? Dave.
I have a question for Julian about the WikiLeaks model, which originally, I know you presented WikiLeaks would be...
I'm going to have to repeat the question, but that's okay. It's okay.
Originally, WikiLeaks was presented as being a neutral conduit where you would post documents and there would be some degree of crowdsourcing of analysis. On the Iraq video, you took a pretty different approach. And I should mention that your original site has been offline for several months. With the Iraq video, you presented the video, but you also offered your own analysis on the site. And so I'm curious, as you go forward, will you be bringing back the old website and its approach
Is the question because the packaging had commentary on?
It seems to me that there's been a shift from moving where WikiLeaks was saying, look, we just present the information, you present the analysis, and the new approach has been we present the information and a pretty degree of analysis as well.
Okay, so I'm just going to. The question has to do with the alleged shift at WikiLeaks from simply posting the material, having it crowdsourced and people interpreting it, to actually interpreting what it means for the viewer or for the listener. Is that a change? You're on.
No, that's part of the right-wing reality distortion field.
Is that?
Mother Jones has had some changes in the past few years. Yeah, so in fact, no, there hasn't been a change whatsoever. Always, although of course it was our hope that initially that because we had vastly more material than we could possibly go through, that if we just put it out there, people would summarize it themselves. That very interestingly didn't happen. Quite an extraordinary thing. So our initial idea, which never got to I won't go into more detail with it, but our initial idea was that look at all those people editing Wikipedia. Look at all the junk that they're working on. Surely, if you give them a fresh classified document about the human rights atrocities in Fallujah that the rest of the world has not seen before, that, it's a secret document, surely all those people that are busy working on articles about history and mathematics and so on, and all those bloggers that are busy pontificating about the abuses in Iraq and Afghanistan and other countries and other human rights disasters, who are complaining that they can only respond to the New York Times because they don't have sources of their own, surely those people will step forward, given fresh source material, and do something. No, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. In fact, people write about things in general, if it's not part of their career, because they want to display their values to their peers who are already in the same group. Actually, they don't give a fuck about the material. That's the reality. So very early on, we understood from experiences like this that we would have to at least give